Right, okay. All right, so we have a really brief overview of the program tonight. We're going to mainly focus on the fully online program, our blended program for those who are maybe a little bit more local. I did hear somebody who was from Soledad. That generally will sometimes be more frequented by our local populace. The thing that's getting kind of interesting, and I'll talk about a little bit in our presentation, is actually now the tuition is becoming more of a one-to-one. It used to be a little bit cheaper to take the blended program, but since unfortunately the CSU has raised their tuition once again, that's tending to now not be as much of the case anymore. Anywho, within our overall presentation, just to give you a brief agenda of what we're looking at, we've gone through our welcome stage here. I'll give you a very brief overview of the program for about 20 minutes, talk briefly for probably no more than 10 minutes really about admissions, and then we'll have a student representative who's just completed the program last year. She'll come in and talk about her experiences to try to give you maybe a less biased perspective of the MISS program. And she currently teaches here on campus in the undergraduate program. In fact, all three of us teach in the undergraduate program here on campus as well as what we do with MISS. So if there's anything we can answer on that front, we're more than happy to as well. And then we'll end with a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Okay, so a brief overview of the MISS program kind of as a whole. The first thing that you get with the program is you get a wide variety of faculty in terms of their discipline knowledge. We have folks who have worked long careers in instructional design at Fortune 500 companies. We have folks who are higher educational professionals for years and have been professors for years. And then we have folks who have K-12 background knowledge, and then also language instruction seems to be something that's also growing within our faculty base as well now. So it gives a wide swath of expertise from which to gain from. The program as a whole focuses on instructional technology in both corporate and educational settings. I think the reason why this is important is long-term, if somebody's looking for maybe a more broad degree versus something that's more structured to K-12 or just higher ed or just corporate, they pigeonhole themselves, whereas this program is broader. We've seen folks exit the K-12 world if they want to, or jump into the K-12 world if they want to. It offers a wide variety of job prospects upon completion of the degree. Lastly, it prepares professionals to use technology in distance and traditional settings. I was talking to somebody who couldn't make it to the open house tonight, and she was very excited about the idea of being able to transfer teaching in the classroom to now being to teaching online, or even just using more technology within the classroom, even though she still wants to teach in a face-to-face setting at the current time. Long-term, she does want to go into online teaching, and this program will give you some skill sets and abilities, not just technology-wise, but also learning theory-wise and learning application-wise that you'd be able to use in those types of settings. Okay, so graduates generally at the end of the program, hopefully, really should be able to plan, design, develop, implement, and evaluate instructional programs and also instructional technologies and their effectiveness within the classroom. For those of you who maybe have a little bit more of an instructional design background, you'll see that that's very common across a lot of instructional design models. If I was to pull up what's called the ADDIE instructional design model, it has all of these pieces within it, and this is something that you'll learn, not necessarily lockstep, but you'll learn it throughout the program, so that even if for you really you need to be more of the planner or you need to be more of the implementer, you'll be able to learn the things that you need to do that can best help you in whatever setting you currently work in or are looking to go work within. Secondly, what we see commonly with a lot of our graduates is people will go on to assume leadership roles as either instructional technologists, educational specialists. They'll become the lead teacher on their team for a certain technology or just within their department as a whole. A K-12 school I used to work at, we had department chairs, and so a lot of folks will go on to be those department chairs within those settings at their schools. And then lastly, if you are looking to maybe take that jump to the corporate training world, we've seen that happen too. People have gone on post-degree from the MISS program to go work for companies like Tesla, Apple. The list is long. I could keep naming them off. So if you're interested in taking your learning experience and now tailoring it more towards corporate training and that type of world, which is right in our backyard for those of us who are here up in Northern California area, that certainly has been the case for a lot of MISS graduates as well. Okay. So there are a lot of instructional design programs, and in fact, I think a lot of CSUs are starting to, if they don't have one already, they're starting to make one. So what's more special in kind of our own individual setting here at the MIST program Firstly, we're housed within the School of Computing and Design. A lot of instructional design programs, and there's nothing wrong with this by any means, but there's a lot of instructional design and education technology programs that are housed within the School of Education or College of Education. Once again, there's nothing wrong with that, but if you want to have a little bit of a broader expertise and then also pick up more technology skills, and this doesn't mean like hard programming skills, but more practical technology skills, practical software skills, that's something you can pick up in this program. And it really, you can have very little knowledge. And I used to joke, there's a good friend of mine in my cohort who went through the program, and he was struggling with opening his email box when he started the program. And by the end of it, he was like tech aficionado. So we don't expect you to be perfect, but you'll pick up a lot of skills that if you want those versus just maybe learning theory or learning design, that's something that this program will have since we're housed here in the School of Computing and Design. It has a unique pedagogy in terms of how we deliver the program, and I'll go over that a little bit more in the presentation, but it's heavily emphasized, it has a heavy emphasis on online learning, regardless of what program you pick. We have a blended program which has a little bit of time on campus, but even that is primarily online. So we'll talk a little bit about the pedagogy as we go through the presentation. The most important thing I think for most folks is that this program is geared really toward full-time working students. We do have a small variety of traditional students. When I was in the program, I started as a traditional student and then transferred into being a full-time employee and was still able to maintain all of my duties as a student. But this program is really tailored towards those who are already in roles. And the reason being is that it's you're able to take what you're learning week by week and implement it to where you're working, and then vice versa, you're able to take what you're learning at your job and implement it back to the curriculum, your teammates, your cohort group, which broadens their learning set. And so if you have, let's say, a group of 20 folks all sharing those things, you get to learn 20 different things about the same topic, and it really broadens and diversifies the learning that takes place within the program. Okay, so I've alluded to this a couple of times. In this program, really, it should say 4 tracks, but there's 2 primary tracks. There's a blended learning track, which has a little bit of time on campus. It's generally folks will come in for a weekend at the start of the semester, and then they'll come at the end of the semester again, kind of debrief. At the start of the semester, they're oriented to their classes, they meet the professors, they work with their team on assignments, things of that nature, and then at the end of the semester, they kind of unpack that and continue to develop on those ideas. We also have a fully online learning track, which is what we'll focus on a little bit more tonight, since there's primarily, well, really, there's only seats left for the fully online track for this fall. That program, all of the orientation and then also the debriefs at the end of each term is done completely online. It would be through Zoom, just like we're doing tonight. You would meet with your professors through this technology. The other 2 that I'm alluding at is we also have certificate programs for those who maybe don't want to take the jump into a full master's program. If you're looking to pick up maybe more of just the core class material, you could do a 16-credit program certificate. After you complete that, if you did want to continue the master's program, you would keep all of those credits. Some folks have been interested in that because it's a little less of a commitment up front. And then also, after a year, they complete that certificate and then can have that immediately on the resume to help with job searches and things of that nature. Okay, so the fully online track, and this is also true for the blended, but it focuses heavily on enhancing teaching and training through the uses of technology. And some of the technology that we'll use are things like Adobe Captivate, really the whole Adobe suite, really, Camtasia. And then from there, there's a wide variety that you can implement in and of itself. There's other things like some light web design that you can pick up. Video and audio editing are a large focus in the program. All of that comes back to taking that technology and using it in learning environments. From there, the program itself, kind of alluded to once again before, was this unique blend of individual and synchronous online learning experiences. During the week, you might have a week where you're heavily working alone, or it might be a team-based week as well. There's no guarantee week by week. But really, you're kind of driving your learning through use of our online course management system called iLearn. You kind of work from there. And then during the semesters, and then some professors, such as our professor who teaches IST 520, which is our learning theory class, he holds bi-weekly meetings with students. So sometimes some professors will have more of a hands-on experience with you. It depends on the professor, and it also depends on the needs of the group. The benefits to this program as a whole is new approaches to instructional challenges. You'll be able to take on whatever you're doing, whatever learning environment and learning group that you're working with, you'll be able to address them in a new way. It integrates heavily tech into each class and corporate training environment that you might be within. And it's a heavy focus on hands-on practice in this program. This is a very practice-based program, and it does have theory, and theory has its place and it's important, but that theory will help to make the hands-on practice better, in my opinion at least.
Mm-hmm. And also talking about technology, I think it's important to mention that as a CSUMB student, you will have free access to a great variety of technology, like the whole Adobe suite. You have access to it for free, which is quite expensive if you were to buy. You have access to Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, Adobe Premiere, After Effects, all of these nice technologies. You have also free access to Camtasia, TechSmith, so you can use it. And we also use Captivate. You mentioned Captivate. Unfortunately, we don't have free access to it. However, it's not that expensive. It's $350 compared to other multimedia authoring tools that can be more than $2,000, right? So it's not that expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. And even, you know, going back to Adobe Captivate, one of the advantages, and this is true of most programs, so I shouldn't just say this is only a missed advantage, but you'll be able to get those student prices because Adobe Captivate, you know, when I was working as an instruction designer in the Bay Area, you're talking, you know, $1,000 per user. It's quite expensive. Whereas as a student, you get it for a much reduced cost, which is beneficial. Okay. So the fully online track, at a glance, it's a 4-semester program and it moves relatively quickly. You can complete it in about 16 months. So those who start in August, if they're able to kind of keep up with the program, they're able to complete in December. Now, with that being said, you know, to get 16 months of credit, you know, that quickly it is, to be fair, it is aggressive. It's an aggressive amount of curriculum. So some folks know realistically that it's too much for them at any given time. So with that, we also have a part-time track that's a little bit longer. It's about 27 months. Tuition-wise, it would be no difference between the programs. So if you decided to go 16 months and complete it quickly or complete it in 27 months, you're paying by the unit, so it wouldn't really matter. It's kind of up to you and to make it work best with your schedule as you can. The modes of study, we break each semester kind of into a quarter and call those terms. So within the term is 8 weeks long. You start with a 1-day synchronous session at the beginning of each term, and then you kind of close with that synchronous session at the end of the term. Generally, you'll have 1 4-unit core course at a time, and then you may have a 2-unit support or elective. I've heard some folks might have a Cal State Teach background. If that's the case, you'll be able to transfer in some units and not take as many electives. And what that would do is not only, it wouldn't make the program, unfortunately, any faster, but it would save you a significant cost out of pocket, which is something that's nice. And then lastly, we end the program with a capstone course that's 16 weeks long. It's the only 16-week long course within the fully online program. Okay. Required credits to graduate. This is actually a little bit of a sticking point depending on if you're transferring in any units. If you transfer in units, that could read as 28 units. For most students, they're going to complete 36. Some will complete less than that, complete 32 units if they have certain prerequisite technology and writing knowledge. There's 4 units that we use to bring people kind of up to the graduate level if they need it. Some folks are already there. If that's the case, those courses can be waived and save you a little bit of money once again out of pocket. The tuition and fees are all built into one another, so they're $580 per unit. It makes the program roughly about, I want to say, $17,000 out of pocket. Once again, if you're transferring in units, you can reduce that cost by unit to unit count. And then also if you have courses waived, you can reduce that once again by unit to unit count. And then of course you start in August and close by December. But for the application cycle for this year, we are starting to fill a little bit more quickly in terms of getting applications. For now, we have a May 31st deadline for the first part of our application, which is found on CSU Mentor. That application cycle is unlikely to be extended, but if it was, we would just email out folks who are still interested in the program after the open house type thing. Okay, so as alluded to before, the curriculum is broken down into terms, and I'll talk about each terms, classes a little bit more so you can have that kind of in the back of your mind when you're thinking about the program. In the first term, we start off with a class that's focused on a variety of instructional technology, and then it has a 2-unit support class that's called Tech Workshop that kind of helps you pick up skill sets, such as some that are CSUMB specific, like learning how to use iLearn, because it's kind of a unique system in and of itself. Others that are focused on the uses of technology that you'll be using within the program.
Mm-hmm.
In term 2, we jump into instructional design, which is more of a theory-based class. You'll be introduced to some of the kind of key folks in the formation of the field of instructional design and some of the key principles of it as well. And then we also have a support class there that's called Writing Workshop. It's for folks to kind of get their writing up to the graduate level. If you're somebody who's very proficient, or some folks have completed another master's degree and this is their second master's degree, we would likely waive that course, but you'd have to show strong proficiency in APA knowledge, just strong overall research skills and strong writing skills as well.
Mm-hmm. We have had students who have finished their PhD before,
Yes.
And then obviously they just show their thesis and they can be exempt from taking this class.
Right, exactly. Okay. In term 3, we have a learning theory class. It goes through a lot of learning theorists. You'll get Bloom, Gagne, the list goes on and on. And then we also have an audio and video production class. This is where Camtasia would come into play. It's taught by one of our folks who works in our Center for Academic Technology here. So he has a lot of good practical knowledge that he does a great job of displaying within that course. So that's a great one because you'll get to finally start to really use some more technology past that first term. Mm-hmm. In term 4, this is one of the terms where you've got a class here it's a tough class and it's a really important class, but it's so focused that we only have it by itself in that term. And that's our interactive multimedia class. This is where you'll get real hands-on with Adobe Captivate. Week by week, you'll get to make mini learning modules and they can build off of of each other as you're moving through the program. We talked about a little bit earlier how you can have a capstone and we'll unpack that a little bit more as we go here. But this is a great time where you'll be able to try little pieces of building what you would want ultimately in your capstone and really get to see the functionality of Captivate. And if you do well in this class, you'll really know Captivate inside and out and be able to use it very effectively wherever you want to use it with whatever learning group you want to use it with as well. In term 5, we have a graduate statistics course, but one that's focused on really the assessment and evaluation of learning that takes place. So you'll be able to really kind of learn a lot of summative and formative evaluation practices and how to use them to better make things effective with folks that you are teaching and training. And then in term 6, we have an advanced instructional design course. This was my personal favorite course in the program because this is where you're going to get to take everything that you've learned before. These classes build off of one another, don't get me wrong, but this is one class where you'll get to put everything together in one cohesive whole, and you're going to work with a real-world client. Do you have some examples of some of the clients that we've had in the past?
Yes, I think we work for the Monterey County, the Department of, not the Department of Education, what's it called, the Office of Education, right? So yeah, we developed training for the Human Resources Department. What else? There was like a hospital. We developed also training programs for them. So this is the closest that you can get to work with in a real project because you are going to be working with an authentic client. It's a very fast-paced course. It's only 10 weeks, but Dr. Farrington is teaching that class, and she has extensive experience working with corporate trainers. So she's very good at this class. She has a lot of contacts. So you're going to be developing a real project for a real client in this class.
Yeah, and other clients have been school districts. Other clients have been even just CSUMB itself or other institutions of higher education. So there's a wide, vast variety, and you get to pick your project that you're working on, which is really helpful because that way, if you want to, let's say you are a classroom teacher, but you want to try corporate training, this would be the chance to do it in a semi-structured but very real-world environment.
And it's a team-based project, so you work as a part of a team.
Yes. And then the second class within that term is one of the first electives, or the second elective, I'm sorry, Multimedia 2, which is a focus on web design and the usage of that within learning environments and classroom teaching.
Exactly. In this class, you learn how to host your own web server and how to upload instructional materials to your own web server. So we are going to cover how to create a free hosting server and how to use JavaScript, jQuery to create interactive websites.
And then lastly, what puts it all together is the capstone. So if some folks, there's two varieties here with the capstone. There's the more standard research thesis, if you're looking to go on and get your PhD or EDD, or there's the option to do, and this is the more common option, is to do a project-based capstone. Within that, you're designing an hour of effective instruction using some form of educational technology. So we've had folks do a variety of projects, some that are focused, within where they're currently working, such as their classroom. We've had others who've been basically taken on by a company to create a project. So I've seen folks create, training sessions for the company Weight Watchers, and I've seen folks create an hour of instruction that's all based out of Captivate for their history class. The projects are very vast there, and it really does come down to you get to pick this project and make it tailorable to what you want to either do within your classroom or do in your next role. So it's a great resume item post-completion of the degree program.
Exactly. Some students use different LMSs, learning management systems. Some might use course sites, Blackboard course sites, Canvas, Edmodo, Schoology, Moodle, all of these different variety of learning management systems. Or they create an instructional website, or as Ryan mentioned, they can also use Captivate. So there's like a very, very different range of alternatives to create projects, and all depends on your target audience, who is going to be taking the training and how. Right? Good. And you have any questions, please use the chat feature, the chat message, so we can see any questions that you might have so far. Let me see if there is any questions so far over here. No, doesn't seem like there is any question.
Oh. So then, once again, just to go back into the classes a little bit, in term 1 and 2, you're going to be able to really develop that common core understanding of the field. You'll get familiar with the instructional design process, and from there you'll be able to start off really with your capstone in term 1 by producing an instructional design document with mini learning modules. And this is one of those things where most students are really good about making sure that each class builds upon itself, so that you can also build upon your capstone, so that when you get to that final 16 weeks, now that you're kind of the master of the knowledge, you can put it all together to this really clean and impressive final project. Something that hasn't been quite mentioned just yet is that this program is also very team-based. So the projects and collaboration not only are emphasized, but they're also really integral to your learning. What you'll find is, and I can speak to this from personal experience being in the program years ago, for me, some of the best learning I had was within my team. And they're going to be your rocks. They'll be the only people that really understand that week by week kind of missed lifestyle that's built upon within the program. And what we do is we build teams in a very systematic manner. It's not just we throw names at the dartboard and we pick people based on writing knowledge, their background, their work experience, design skills if they have them, technology skills if they have them. And that helps to build a team that has a wide variety of skill sets and will make you more successful in your overall project-based learning, hopefully at least. And that tends to be the case across the board. Okay, and in term 3 and 4, this is where, once again, you have learning theories as a class, and also instructional design principles. To construct a functional learning unit will be a very core piece of those two terms. Also, you'll produce quite a few interactive learning modules and a preliminary capstone project proposal. So most folks will then take that instructional design document that they had worked on in the previous couple of terms and now turn it into the capstone project proposal. And as they learn more and more about the field, more and more different technologies that they can integrate within the environments that they're in, it helps to develop a more cohesive capstone project and idea. And so you'll see that you'll get to build little pieces of it throughout the different terms, which really does help you not only make that better capstone as we talked about on the last slide, but it also helps you reinforce the learning term by term. You don't just do one term and throw it out when you're done. You need that previous term to be successful with each successive term and each successive piece of your capstone project that you're building. And so this term really does focus heavily on the usage of interactive multimedia software like Adobe Captivate, the Adobe Suite in general, if you want to make it a little bit more advanced. And then also some information technology and a lot of media design and implementation as well. Okay, and in term 5 and 6, this is where advanced instructional design comes back into play, and now you get to take everything you've learned and really get to not just, you've been a little bit of a protective environment, you've been in your cocoon with the professors and your teammates, now you get to see what people in the real world are thinking about the skill sets that you've developed so far. This is a great way to really know where your strengths are and also your weaknesses, and also how to develop yourself a little bit more so that you're taking everything that you're learning and making it better. Since you're engaging in real world projects, you're getting to do it at a professional level, hopefully once again. And in most cases, you'll see people kind of not know that they have these things. They've been learning about them, they've been thinking about them. Now they really know that they have them because somebody is seeing it from, once again, an unprotected view. You have a real world client right there telling you what you've done. Of course, you also get to really learn right beside that how to develop and conduct appropriate usability, reliability, and efficiency tests of learning modules. And this is so critical to that final capstone because it's a big key component of it, but it's also very helpful in that real world project because you're going to be able to use a lot of usability testers in that client-based project at the location that you're working with these folks with it. Okay, in the final 2 terms, you're working solely on your capstone project. Once again, this is either a thesis or a project that connects with your career as a culminating experience, and hopefully will be something very, very strong you can use within a job search, or if you're looking to be promoted, what have you. And even if it's neither of those 2 things and you just really just want to pick up these skill sets just to be a better educator, then that's great too, because now you're going to be able to really use that capstone. And we've seen a lot of people develop entire semesters worth of work off of their final capstone. It can start so small but develop into something so large. So the capstone should be something that you either get to use right away when you go to work the next day after the completion of the program, or it's something that you can use to really find that work once you complete the program as well. Okay. We've talked a lot about the fully online program. For those who are more local and maybe want to wait till next year to apply, we'll talk very briefly about the blended track. Once again, also a 16-month program, can be extended to 27 months. It doesn't really need to say with permission, we'll grant you the permission. But it can be extended to 27 months if you want to go part-time as well. This is the program that does require some face-to-face time on campus. It adds up to about 15 days total. So generally people who are far up north or far down south, this is maybe a little bit less of a realistic program because it's going to also cost a little bit more out of pocket because you have to stay in a hotel and travel here and all of those different things that come with it. So generally we do recommend if you're not within the Monterey County area, generally the online programs are better fit both financially and just in your overall time and scheduling. This is front and back end as same as the online orientation sessions. E-learning, same with once again the online is done between the modules. It says Friday workshops are available. This is also true for the online program. We would just do the Friday workshops online. So one program doesn't have really any difference between the other in terms of curriculum or professors. It's just the length of the semesters because these are semesters versus terms. And then it's also just slightly in terms of the face-to-face requirements as well. This is same thing, 32 to 36 units for graduation. And then the last bit is it's a little bit different in terms of fee structure because this follows what's called the CSU statewide tuition requirements, which as I alluded to earlier has unfortunately gone up again. So it's $4,200 per semester. So it ends up being a little bit less out of pocket, generally about $1,000 so or less tuition wise between the programs. It's a slightly cheaper program, but once again, if you're traveling here, it's going to work its way out in the long run. And this also has the same start date. Unfortunately, the only thing I would say with the blended program is that applications at this time have closed for. We have filled that program past capacity. We're on a wait list at this point, whereas the fully online does have seats still available. Okay, and the blended track curriculum, all of the same things, term by term. The only difference is that you would take more classes at once, really, essentially. So term one, you would take, instead of breaking those down into 2 term chunks, you're taking all 4 classes at the same time. In term 2, the second semester, you would be taking the same thing, 2 classes and an elective. In term 3, you would be taking just those 2 classes. And then in term 4, instead of taking capstone alone, you'd be taking capstone and an elective. So it's a very kind of tight-packed program because it doesn't have that advantage of being broken down into somewhat of a quarter-based system. This is a straight semester system, and so you have to take more classes at once to get them all done in 16 months. And some people that works really well, and it's one of the major pieces of positive feedback we hear from our alumni is that I was able to complete my degree in such a timely manner. But the thing that comes with that is you have to take a lot of classes at once to achieve that. So that's something to keep in the back of the mind as well. And then we have little face-to-face bubbles that would show where each face-to-face seminar would be. So you can see it starts the program off on a face-to-face before you begin instruction, and then it just keeps going at the end of one term, at the beginning of each subsequent term as you go, and then it ends with a capstone presentation on campus, whereas the online program does their capstone presentation online. Okay, so the typical week for a MIS student is really no different between the programs. We go by Tuesday to Tuesday week is how we operate. So on Wednesday, that's the first day of your new week. And on that new week, you're receiving kind of the new module. You're hopefully carefully studying your requirements and your readings for the upcoming week. And then from there on Thursday, we recommend folks to continue to do any reading that they still might need to do, and then start any discussion-based activities. You'll see a lot of forums in our classes to really unpack what you're reading, and before you go in and start to do more advanced assignments, you'll do a lot of forums to kind of build a common knowledge base amongst your cohort group. On Fridays, if you're in the blended program or online, you might go either to campus or online for on-campus workshops. You'll hopefully start your assignments, your more in-depth assignments, and then finish your reading and ask any questions that you might have with the professor, because since each week is quite aggressive, it's important to be on top of any questions that you might have with the professor as soon as possible. On Saturday, we kind of joked that this is the longer day of the week. You might be spending a good chunk of it working on your assignments and activities to give yourself Sunday off. Or if you're like me, you spread it out Thursday through Sunday and do little chunks of it each day. There's no perfect way of doing it, but we've seen a lot of folks will heavily emphasize Saturday because you're working Monday through Friday. You're busy, so the weekend is most logical to do their work within. On Sunday, hopefully that will give you some time to eat, drink, and enjoy your life a little bit. And then on Monday and Tuesday, you're really finalizing assignments. Any discussions that you're having online, you might want to wrap those up to a close. And then on Tuesday, by midnight, essentially, really like 11:55 p.m., we have folks submit their assignments and then get ready to be prepared for the next module so that they can hit the ground running the next day on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. Also, Fridays and Saturdays, most instructors, most professors have visual office hours. Mm-hmm. So they offer it at different times. Mine are Fridays from 4 to 6. I know that Dr. Fischer has his office hours on Saturdays. Yes. So all depends on the professor. But professors are always available to you. And we use these technologies as Zoom to do a video conference and to see the progress of your work. And as a CSUMB student, you have also a free professional Zoom account that you can use not only with the professor, but also with your peers. Sometimes when you are working with a team, you might need to use this kind of technology to communicate with them.
Okay. So a common question I get on the phone a lot is, how am I going to use this degree? It's, the curriculum sounds great, all these things are fantastic, but really what am I going to do with it? Mm-hmm. With that being said, what we found, and we just did a program review where we had folks talk about their careers and where they're going. And me and Dr. Laura joked, a lot of them are making more money than we're making. So we're jealous and we wish we were doing what they were doing. But what you will find is that many of these jobs fall within these 5 categories here. A lot of folks will go on to be instruction designers wherever they're at. They'll become an e-learning specialist, corporate trainers, learning experience managers. Someone within my own program went on to be the director of STEM here within the county of Monterey, or the director of education technology. I've seen that happen with a lot of folks who are based out of higher education institutions. Really, as a whole, the program is going to prepare you for a host of careers within education technology, instruction design, training, or human performance technology fields. The career choices are vast. Other folks, some teachers, they just want to get the degree to be a better teacher, and they have no desire to go on and get a promotion, and that's just fine. The program will serve you just as well for that. but it's good to know that there are a vast amount of career options outside of where you're at that this degree can really allow you to have should you want to pick up and change careers at some point down the road. Mm-hmm. Okay. Some of our faculty, we got a diverse set. John Idelson is currently, he's retired, but he's still a part of the program. Some of you who are involved in Cal State Teach may have ran into him at some point. He's very tied into Cal State Teach from our local campus and also statewide, really. Jeannie Farrington, she owns her own instructional design company.
Correct. Yes.
As does a professor we don't have on here. Gosh, his name is escaping right now. Daryl Sink. There we go, Dr. Daryl Sink. He also owns his own company and is involved within this program as well. Dr. Don Fisher, he came from a long career at the Defense Language Institute here in Monterey. He teaches generally IST 520, the learning theory class. He's also teaching our project management class. Those who've been in the online program, he generally teaches in the online program versus the blended program, have nothing but good things to say. If you were going to pick one professor to take all your classes with, it would probably be Don. He's amazing. His office hours, even though he holds them on Saturday, if you want to meet with him for 6 hours on Saturday, he'll meet with you for 6 hours. This guy does not mess around. So he loves interacting with students. He takes this very seriously and creates a class that's absolutely amazing. I'm jealous I couldn't have had him as a professor, really.
He's the former provost of DLI, Defense Language Institute.
Yeah, did his doctoral degree at New Mexico, I believe, University of New Mexico. So a very well thought man, without question. You have Dr. Lara sitting next to me. He's been teaching the program now for about 3 years.
3 years. My background is mainly computer science. I teach also computer science. Yeah, very excited to be here.
Absolutely. And then Dr. Strong, who unfortunately just retired, unfortunate for us, but good for her. She teaches a variety of classes. She taught our capstone class last fall. When I was in the program, I believe she taught a couple of classes. I think it was in our instructional technology class, if I remember correctly. But once again, she might be there to help out in some different ways, but less likely to take her in an actual class. Dr. Butsu, who's not here tonight, she is the director of the Fully Online program. She teaches assessment evaluations, some of the instructional design courses as well. She has a little bit of a background within instructional design more specifically, and she also does have some of the computer science background as well, similar to Dr. Lara.
She's the chairwoman of the School for Computing and Design.
Correct. Dr. Eric Tao used to be one of the directors of the NIST program as well. He sometimes teaches project management, but now Dr. Fisher is teaching that class. So once again, he may have a little bit of a reduced role in the program, but he's got a large network in terms of, he's very focused on our Institute of Economic Development here on campus. So if you're interested in some things like project management, especially in the business world, and some of that involving learning as well, he's a great person to get in contact to. And
he's also the director of the Fully Online program in computer science.
Correct.
So we also have an undergrad computer science program, Fully Online, and he directs that program.
Correct. Then we have Sarah Tortolette. She teaches a wide variety of classes. She'll be teaching learning theory this year. She already is teaching learning theory in the blended program. So she teaches that. She teaches writing workshop, a lot of classes, and she's also well taught with an instruction design background that she has. Dr. Vinson teaches primarily on the online program. She teaches instructional technology within the online program, and is also a very well sought after capstone advisor. Our lecturers, actually, funny enough, all three of them went through the MIST program. So Troy and Chris have similar backgrounds as instructional designers on campus. They teach a lot of the tech-based classes, usually partnering with Dr. Lara. And then Karen will sometimes teach some of the writing courses. It just depends on the semester. It looks like this semester Sarah will teach most of them, but potentially you could run into Karen as well. And then I introduced myself a little bit earlier. I'm just the student services coordinator, so I'm the sole staff person for this department for the MIST program. And any of your outside of class needs, I'm kind of the person you would run into as well. And then also alluded that I've been through the program, so if people spend their time just venting, about their experience, I'm here to be vented at as well, because I understand it. I understand what you would be going through as a student. And most experiences are very positive, but everybody's going to have a week in any degree program that's tough. And you can run that by me, and we can do what we can to alleviate it and make it hopefully a little bit easier on you as we move forward. Okay. Let's see. So,
Oh, we have some music.
I think it might be Paige.
Okay.
The last slide I have on my end is just the admission slide for those who are interested. In terms of kind of the most important date is May 31st is our application deadline for CSU Mentor specifically. We have a two-part application process. The first part is the completion of a CSU Mentor application. Those of you who applied to a CSU before will be very familiar with that process. Very low key. It's mainly demographic information, education information, work experience. It does not require your letter of recommendations, your statement of purpose, your resume. You don't have to collect those at that time. So a lot of folks will kind of apply for that in advance, just to kind of lock in their ability to complete the rest of the application so that they don't miss that first part of the application deadline, which is the CSU Mentor deadline for the 31st. After that, we may accept applications if there were to be seats available. That's very year dependent. This year, it's looking like we'll probably be all full by the 31st. So I would highly recommend, if you are interested, to apply by May 31st for the fully online program. As alluded to before, the blended application is closed at this time. So if you're local and you prefer that program, you would unfortunately have to wait till next year. That application, along with next year's fully online application, will open October 1st of next year. Application requirements are pretty thin overall. They're not too bad. It's the first step of it is an online application on CSU Mentor. From there, you would send your 2 copies of official transcripts, one to us, which you would just submit online, honestly, just scan it, we'll take it, and then 1 sealed copy to the Office of Admissions, a statement of purpose detailing why this program suits your needs, what you plan to use it for either in the now or in the future, and really some of the skill sets that you can bring into the program. Because this is cohort-based, we want to know what skill sets you can provide to your teammates as well. 2 letters of recommendation, either from work supervisors or academic references, gives us a good feel of what type, your personality, how it's going to benefit your cohort members, how it's going to help you to succeed within the program, things of that nature. If applicable, TOEFL scores for foreign applicants, and a foreign credit evaluation, once again, if applicable, for foreign applicants as well. Okay. So if you have, any questions in the future, by all means, you can email us at mist@csumb.edu. I control that account. You can always go to our website, csumb.edu/mist. We're trying to make it a little bit better each time out, so hopefully it's been helpful so far for those of you who've been on it. And then always do feel free to call me at my office extension. We also have implemented on the website a chat function, which at first automates a message to you from me. And then if you decide to chat with us, it will send a direct message to me that somebody wants to chat with me and I can answer your questions directly. That's been a nice little additional feature that we've added. It's been very helpful for our current cohort groups who might have a question about a class, and then also for applicants who are looking for on-the-spot help with an application and they might be in a situation where you can't call me or email is going to take too much time. We have a chat box available, so I'm sitting there at my computer and I'm able to answer your questions so long as I'm at my desk type thing. From there, is Paige with us?
I don't see her.
Maybe she's at 005.
Okay. Paige, are you with us? We have a former student who said that she might be able to join us to talk about her own experience in the program. However, unfortunately, she might not be she was not able to join us tonight.
Yeah, she has a very young daughter, so she might have got tied up by her child, which is fine.
Yes.
If that's the case, we can just open up to questions at this point.
Absolutely.
If you have a question about what it's like to be a student, I can at least relate my experience. I know it might be a little bit of a biased answer, but I'll try my best to be non-biased.
So yes, we still have 6 more minutes. So you have any question, please feel free to ask. You can unmute yourselves and you can ask questions. All right, looks like we don't have any question. So we are going to make available the recording to all of you. Probably can send the link in case you might have a question or something. You can watch the recording again, or you can email Brian directly. It will be faster. Okay.
Application questions are totally fine, Regina. Fire away. If you want, feel free to unmute yourself, Regina, if you just want to talk into your mic.
Okay. You are muted now.
Okay, so the question is about transcripts. Oh yeah, not a problem. So 2 copies of transcripts, yes. One of them is sent official copy to the Office of Admissions. At our level, there's kind of a 2-step process with admissions. There's the program level and there's the institution level of admissions. At the program level, unofficial documents of anything is fine. That's as long as it's from the company that runs it. Like, for example, if it was a TOEFL score, that's completely fine. It does need to be the most recent. The thing you will find, and this is just something to be wary of for those who are applying, and I'm not asking you to game the system, but I'm going to help you to game the system. If you want to alleviate sending in a bunch of transcripts, let's say you took a class for fun with pottery at a CC, don't mention it on your CSU mentor application. So long as you're not sending it for any credit at any other university, they're not going to want those transcripts because they're not going to know about them. And frankly, it wouldn't affect us one way or the other. So when in doubt, unless you have transcripts that have transfer credit on them, if it's something you don't want us to see, you didn't use them to boost your GPA, for example, or you didn't use them to learn something for your current program or your undergraduate program at that time, save yourself the trouble and don't include it on your CSU mentor application. It will help to keep the workload of collecting all of those and ordering all of them down quite a bit. But yes, back to your original question, just one unofficial transcript to us and one official sealed copy to the Office of Admissions here at CSUMB.
Okay, very good question.
Yeah, I actually have a question too. I'm curious about just like if there are like kind of conferences or events throughout the year that maybe would go like as far as students. I know I hear of some. I'm learning of some as I go, but I'm still pretty new to this whole industry, so I'm just curious about that.
I think it depends. I'm sure Dr. Lara has an answer, but my answer would be if you're looking just to go like the research side, if you're looking to be kind of that advanced kind of research-based student, you might be interested in going to the AECT conference.
Exactly.
Gosh, tell me the abbreviation.
The Association for Educational Communications and Technology. That's the Association for Educational Communications and Technology. And they have the conference in different places every year. Anaheim, Jacksonville, Indiana, Indianapolis. As a matter of fact, Ryan and I went to Las Vegas, yes, right? Yes. Last year, we were in Las Vegas presenting. He had his own presentation. I had my presentation as well. If you are into research, if you are planning to do a PhD, we strongly, and we didn't mention that, right? We didn't talk about it, but we have the option to do a capstone that is going to be research-oriented. Instead of doing a project-based capstone, instead of using Captivate, you can do a research. And that's what Ryan did, by the way.
Yes.
And that's why he's doing his PhD now, right?
Yes, at Fresno State. So that is something that interests you. And then if you're looking for more just, practical hands-on, not to use the way that we got all of your guys' email addresses, but the obvious one is also the Q conference, the Computer User Education or Educators Conference. For you, Leonardo, I think that was you who asked the question.
Yes, it was another.
You would have one up in Silicon Valley that's offered in San Jose. So that's a good one to stop by since you're in that local area. So that's something to keep in mind. But there are so many different ones. There's the Technology, Knowledge, and Society Conference that I've been to. The opportunities are vast because education technology, at least in my opinion, is a vastly growing field. So you'll have a lot of options to go to a variety of conferences. And if you do want to go the research route, we've had students who've been very successful in presenting at these conferences in the past. Mm-hmm. Looks like we have a question about transcripts. So the question is, what if at this time you don't have your transcripts and you have to request them? That is not a problem. You would just, however your institutions handle them, because it looks like you have a couple institutions there, Shannon, you would just order them and have those sent over to the Office of Admissions. For us, ideally we could get at least a scanned copy of them. So sometimes you can order electronic versions of them, which actually also our Office of Admissions accepts. So if you want to make it real fast, order an e-copy and just have it sent to them directly. You could also do that for us as well, and that could get it sent over immediately to my email address. I can download them and I can put them into your application for you. Would you need all three of them? That's a kind of a yes and a no answer on this one. Ideally, you would submit all three. And the reason being is because it looks like you went to two colleges to put together all of the units to get your BA. If that's the case, you absolutely would have to send them, because there's, for the CSU, and we haven't talked about this at all, but for the CSU statewide, every CSU requires a minimum of a 2.5 GPA for a graduate student from their last 6 units of their undergraduate study. So we would need all of those transcripts to delineate what your overall GPA was at a cumulative level, and then also the last 60 units. So they would want those. The teaching credential, technically, since you did that after BA, I'm assuming, that would still fall within those 60 units, because it's within the last 60 units taken towards any degree or certificate-based or credential-based program. So we would need the teaching credential transcripts, because that's what they would use to determine your last 60 units. Let's say your teaching credential is 30 units, then they would take 30 units from your teaching credential and 30 from your BA. It just depends on how many units each program was. So that's what we would use them for. So unfortunately, yes, you would need all three. It's a little bit of legwork, but it is something that any CSU would ask you to do, unfortunately.
I have a question as well. If I start the online program, would there be an opportunity to join the blended program further into the program? Yeah, that's the question.
I have 2 recommendations on this, and Dr. Laura might differ. My 2 recommendations are this. Technically, yes, you can start the online program and transfer to the blended program. Now, here's the problem with that. The blended program is very popular in our local area for whatever reason. It's just filling up quickly these last couple of years. Because of that, there's not a high attrition rate in that program. We admit 30 is what we would ideally admit, but we get so many qualified applicants, we can't turn them all away. So we end up admitting 35 and then waitlist another 5. And unfortunately, those 5 usually don't end up joining the blended program because there's just no place for them. When that happens, you would have to almost hope that attrition would happen at this large rate so that there would be open seats. Because with the part-time and full-time students, part-timers are carrying on with that next cohort. So you might have, classes that have a high head count, and too much of that detracts from your ability to learn. It detracts from the professor from giving you good feedback. Or it detracts so much. So unfortunately, I would realistically say that's probably not the case. So my second recommendation would be this. If that's something of interest, then what you could very well likely do is take the certificate-based program and transfer those units into the blended program. That would be an option. Others, what they might do is take open university classes, because they could transfer those in. So take 8 units of either the blended or the fully online in an open university setting, and then take those units transferred in when they become a blended student. And then their overall load while they're completing the degree is less aggressive. So that's an option too. I know that's not the best answer.
No, that's okay.
No,
it's good to know. Thank you.
Honest, I want to be honest with you. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Not a problem.
Okay, thank you, Rebecca. So I think we are past the time. So if you have any more questions, please feel free to email Ryan.
Yes.
And we are going to be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
And I'll answer this one from Regina just really quickly, just because it's a really good question. If you are an online program, just because you're online, you're not pushed away, you're not allowed to be on campus. So we have a lot of folks who are actually local who will do the program online just because of just the way their schedules work out. Happens a lot with our DLI professors in the area. You are more than welcome to come on campus and meet with the professors, meet with me. We hold office hours here. We're here on campus every day. So you're more than welcome to come in and take part in anything that we would do face-to-face. The only reason we wouldn't have you come to the face-to-face orientations is just because the online program is structured a little bit differently. So you would be kind of taking in information that would be too soon type thing, because you're not taking 4 classes at a time. You're taking 1 or 2 classes at a time. So that's why folks don't usually come to the face-to-face sessions. But if you want to be a part of anything else on campus, by all means, you're just as much a student here as anybody else is.
Exactly. Yes, you can use the labs, the computer labs, anything. Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, for joining us tonight. And well, we hope to see you soon. All right. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
Have
you.
a good evening.
See you, Anita. See you, Shannon, Leonardo. Thank you for coming. Maggie, thank you. Okay.
Thank you for the invitation.
Okay, thank you. Take care. Bye. See you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay, see you. Thank you.